What if your dream of becoming a world-class animator didn't require moving to the city? For the first time ever, the Animation School's internationally ranked 3-year diploma is now available 100% online. Same curriculum, same lecturers, same award-winning student films, delivered straight to your screen wherever you are. No more borders, no more limits. If you've got talent and Wi-Fi, you've got a seat in the class. Animation belongs to everyone. And now, so does Animation School. Apply online today.
The world is obsessed with AI, the algorithms, the instant generation. It's powerful, but let's be entirely clear, without the artist, it's just noise. Artificial intelligence doesn't have a unique voice. It doesn't have a unique style, and it definitely doesn't have your imagination. It relies entirely on the spark that only the artist can provide. Artist input, artist lived experience, the artist's vision. At the Animation School, we aren't running from the future. We're building it.
Good day and welcome to a very special stream for the Animation School. Today we are making history, and coincidentally it's our 26th birthday today. So happy birthday, Animation School. It's been a glorious 26 years. Thank you for joining. Before we get into the core of today's announcement, I want to address the elephant in the room. If you are watching this and are skeptical, angry, or worried about AI and animation, please stay with me. Do not click away. I hear your concerns. I've read the comments, and your protective instinct over our craft is entirely justified. We cannot ignore what is happening at the highest levels of our industry. We've seen announcements like Netflix's incubator integrating AI into animation production, and VFX studios like Digital Domain pioneering their pipelines to integrate AI. And then Disney, which has publicly shown an avid interest in investing in the new technology. The ground is shifting beneath us. But here is the absolute truth of what we are doing. We are an art school, and we will never be a prompting school. We are not teaching students how to type a sentence and let the machine do the work. We are teaching classically trained artists how to harness these new technologies so they are the ones leading the industry, not being replaced by it. The student is and forever will remain at the absolute center of the creation. I've split this presentation up into 3 sections: the what, the why, and the how. So now let me address the what. What are we doing today? Next year, we will be introducing AI into the curriculum. However, the way we are doing it is built entirely around traditional artistry. We have to recognize that major software companies are not staying in the past. Standard industry software is rapidly introducing AI tools natively into their interface. Why? Not to replace the creator, but to remove the busy work. This assists the artist in achieving a baseline result faster, which crucially gives them more time to reiterate, experiment, and be highly selective about the final creative output. Before any student touches an AI tool in our classroom, they will be intensely focused on theory, anatomy, composition, timing, and most importantly, storytelling. You cannot direct a machine if you do not have the artist's eye. Our evidence as an art school is in our foundation. We will heavily enforce our core principles before anyone is allowed to jump into AI for a faster workflow.
Let's be honest. Many artists don't like AI, and that's understandable. Too often, what they've seen is people typing random prompts, generating hundreds of inconsistent images, and calling it creativity. No direction, no craftsmanship, no authorship, just hoping something good appears. That's not how great animation is made. At the Animation School, we believe AI should never replace the artist. It should respond to the artist. That's why we teach structured, controllable production pipelines, not random prompting. We start with story, then design, then characters, then environments, then visual language, then shot planning. Every creative decision comes from the artist. AI simply becomes another production tool, guided with intention, consistency, and creative control. Just as a cinematographer directs a camera, or an animator directs a performance, the next generation of artists will learn to direct AI. The future isn't about giving creativity to machines. It's about giving artists more power to create. That's the future we're building at the Animation School, and we'd love you to help shape it.
Our position was always clear. We in the animation market to service a particular industry, which was the animation industry. The industry, I think, today has a different opinion of us.
Through consistently producing graduates of top quality. We are now being recognized as one of the leading animation schools in the world.
Animation is one of those mediums that can be used for absolutely anything.
I was infatuated with the concept of just creating everything that comes to mind.
We quickly realized that these students were not interns. They were junior production-ready artists.
Students film from animation school are at an international level.
Animation is the communication of an emotion, and learning how to communicate emotion requires a deep understanding of the tools.
Because the principles of animation all remained the same. We were just using a different tool.
I found this school to have the right tools it needed for me to do exactly what I wanted.
The level of the school on what you will learn in terms of CG and how you will become a CG artist is very strong.
The animation school team is very passionate about the same things that we're passionate about Triggerfish, which is about excellence in quality and making sure that South African artists have a platform for expressing their talents and their vision and their stories.
This incredible combination of everybody's skills, strengths. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to witness.
And you can really feel that in the films and the quality of the films that are coming out.
This is Pixar short-level storytelling. They're truly world-class.
And to have Disney and Nickelodeon and all of these people sit down and say, you guys are onto something. You know, we are in a space where there's a massive boom as an animation industry in South Africa. And a place like the animation school is in the position where it is the preeminent place. The core team that we developed, more and more of them were coming out of the animation school because they were coming out at such a high level.
The education quality is extremely high and on par with most places in the world, if not better.
South Africa is a very important partner on the animation scene.
Competing with the best of the world.
So development is the utmost importance for now and for the future. You can never stop developing. Okay, so let's continue explaining how it is that we're going to direct this technology at the animation school. So now we will talk about the why. Future employers are actively backing our move to teach AI, despite what many might say. They don't want to teach They don't want tech operators. They want trained artists who know how to wield these new technologies to take their pipelines further. If we bury our heads in the sand, we hand over the creative direction to tech-driven automation. By training our artists to command these tools, we secure their place at the helm of the industry. The initial idea, the soul of a project, and the creative direction must be human-driven. We are just using tech to fast-track production so our artists can achieve more ambitious goals within tight deadlines. But let's hear what our local industry, our professionals, are saying about us integrating AI. But before we hear our professionals, I want to hand over to Tim Argel, which has recently joined the animation school and navigating us through this very complex time. Tim is a respected veteran in the South African animation industry, and I personally know Tim for 30 years. But let's hear more about the tremendous Tim Argel himself.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for that intro, Nuno. I have been in this business for some time, It's been 35 years now, and I've been focused on character animation since I fell in love with it when I was a kid. So my task at the moment is to consult the school and work closely with the academic staff and with industry on how best to adapt the curriculum to deal with the big changes in landscape that have been ushered in thanks to AI. And it's worth saying that I've been doing this since the school started 26 years ago, back when Nuno still had hair. And and a lot of other of my industry colleagues would sort of group together every year or so and talk about what it is that the school should be doing to best prepare their graduates for the workplace. And we would also be part of the external examination of the graduation forms. So there's always been this really healthy exchange with industry and the animation school. And I think it's why the graduates of the school are just far superior to every other institution that I've seen students coming out of. And for that reason, throughout my career, I've been recruiting and working with and learning from animation school graduates. And I'll touch on that a little bit more as I get into my little presentation. I think the sort of big challenge for us is that, to know what this thing's going to do, you sort of need to be able to kind of read the future. And we can't really know exactly, but we can make a couple of assumptions. I think the one is that the technology is here to stay, that it's going to continue to evolve, and that there will be a serious uptake with it in the bigger studios. And we know that busy doing R&D in all the major studios around how best to use the technology to achieve certain economies, to enable filmmakers to do more, perhaps with smaller budgets, and just what are the possibilities. So we know this. In terms of industry and its engagement, it's varied. There are certain industry players who've adopted it early, been going for 2 or 3 years with it already, and others who are sort of watching and waiting to see when the moment is to step in and engage with it. So my friend Nick Clitty at Mind's Eye, for example, they have a 2D studio, and they have clients who they've signed contracts with that say they can't use AI. So their engagement is low. But our friends at Chocolate Tribe, for example, are doing visual effects and advertising, and they're using it in a hybrid fashion wherever they can for economies. So I think this is why there needs to be a conversation, because right now it's not that usable except in certain applications. But because it's evolving quickly, it's important that we track with it. And so we have to, if we're going to be responsible to our students, say, well, what do we imagine the technology is going to be doing in 3 years' time? And I think we can all pretty safely assume that there will be some level of adoption in the major production studios, and that in order for our graduates to be relevant and workplace ready, which is the promise that we make to them, they're going to need to be exposed to it. They don't have to use it, but they do need to know what the possibilities are so that they can make those kind of choices. And that's kind of been our philosophy with it. And what we're advising at the moment, and in terms of curriculum, we'll try to implement, is to create sort of buckets in each year where the students can engage with the technology, but it's not fixed to a particular software or system, because we know those are going to change. So it's more of a research project where they can engage and learn and test and see how these things can be incorporated into the production workflow. So I thought I should probably just talk a little bit about my story. I think it'll be of interest to aspirant animators and possibly parents who are wondering, is this a real job? And the reason I tell it is because when I started out, I was also wondering if it was a real job. And my parents had serious doubts. And in many ways, I've been involved in kind of pioneering the South African industry. So we find ourselves at this important precipice where we need to wrap our heads around what AI is going to mean for us, just like every other educator is in every education institution, that figuring out what to do with their curriculums in order to make the students that they're preparing for the workplace relevant and workplace ready. And that's across the board, from medical and engineering and people writing code into the arts as well. So here's a little bit of my story. I'm going to tell it as quickly as I can, but I'm going to start at the beginning. I got the bug, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you want to do animation. I got the bug when I was about 7. This movie came out, The Rescuers, and I just couldn't understand why I cared so much about these 2 little mice. And I love to draw, and I wanted to see my drawings come to life and somehow one day engage an audience in that way. So I decided when I was 12, I was going to be an animator. I was going to work for Disney. I even made a speech at school about it. And then discovered there was no way to study animation in this country. So I ended up doing an apprenticeship, which went relatively well for the first sort of 2 weeks. And then my boss fired the guy I was apprenticing under and said, over to you. So I went to the public library. I found this book, Animation from Script to Screen. Later on, got hold of The Illusion of Life, which is just a gold mine, written by 2 Disney veterans, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson. And I just began trying to figure it out. But I didn't have any formal education until much later. So it was in 2000 that I had the first kind of instruction. I had the privilege of doing this masterclass with Richard Williams when he was still alive. Richard directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And he's just the most extraordinary teacher, very passionate. And you can see from these images, that's just what it was like. He was running backwards and forwards on the stage. It was so entertaining, but also so infectious. His real love and passion for this craft, which, it just sort of sank into me in a big way and completely changed my work. So I also began to see the great value of a good education. Much later in my life, I went on to do a master's. My research was on this Russian guy, Konstantin Stanislavski, who's kind of the father of method acting. And what I was exploring is what animators can learn from actors. And I'll touch on this a little bit right at the end of my presentation. And then go back in time a little bit to 2003. I started my own studio. At the time, there wasn't much other work except advertising, so we did a lot of advertising. And with some of the proceeds from that revenue, we pumped into making some of our own films, which, although the production value is kind of embarrassing now, I'm still kind of proud of the stories that we told. After that, I spent some time at Triggerfish. I helped them found Triggerfish Academy. Also then went on to supervise the animation on their 3rd feature film, SEAL Team. And then after that, I got to work for Disney. Just on this anthology of short films. I was director of animation on Herder Boy, which was one of the shorts. And here's a little production still from it. That's Ndahura. He was the protagonist. And this moment was animated by a TAS graduate, Dominic Sieber, who's become a good friend of mine. From there, I found myself in gaming, which was unexpected. I've spent the last 3 years working at a gaming studio based in Johannesburg called Talent Digital. Watch out for them. They're going to be doing some cool things. They have 4 games currently in development. This one, Picking Order, I was deeply involved in, even in the original idea. And if you're into chaotic party games, I strongly recommend you go find it on Steam and wishlist it. And support our local industry. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's a lot of fun. Just a little shout out to another TAS graduate, Michelle Kaur, who is working at Talent Digital as a concept artist and art director. This is some of her level design work for the game. The levels are really fun. So I just want to speak a little bit about my task now and what I'm going to be doing in the months ahead. I'm going to continue interacting with industry constantly and kind of taking temperature of the implementation levels of AI, how they're using it. We also want to work closely with them in R&Ding different methodologies and techniques. Perhaps we can make some discoveries at the school that are difficult for industry to engage with just because of the pressure they're under and the resources that they may not have. So I want to keep that dialogue very open. We're going to be publishing little podcast style conversations that we're having with industry, very open and honest, with sort of different levels of adoption from different professionals. So hopefully one a week. I've entitled the podcast, "Is AI Where Animation Goes to Die?" I think it's catchy, but I also think it's like totally the question we're all asking, like, is it going to destroy it for us? And I personally believe the way to save it is to engage and diffuse this thing's power over us, bring the monster down, and begin exploring how it can be used. A good friend of mine, Dan Snadden, was saying, animation is a frame-by-frame medium, and until we can control every frame, AI is not very useful to us. And so this is our task, is to work out how to master the beast and to make it work for us. We're not going to work for the machines. The machines must work for us. But just in the engagement that I've had with industry up until now, it's very, very clear that it's not about the software. It's not about learning to type prompts, because anyone can do that. The advice we've been getting is teach filmmaking and develop artists, people with a vision, people that have a good sense of what's appealing. But help them to learn the craft, because it's less about software and more about principles. And with principles, there are lots of principles in terms of design, but there are also principles for animation that underpin why a good performance works the way it does and draws us in and intrigues us. And yeah, fundamentals first. So it's this kind of language that is strongly influencing our curriculum. We're not going to outsource our brains. We're going to engage as artists with this tool and figure out how useful or not useful it might be to us. I had a great conversation with a South African who's done amazing work in his career as a technical director, does a lot of rigging work. He's a brilliant visual sculptor and sculpts in clay as well. Judd Samantov, considered him a friend. And he gave some great advice, which I thought I'd just dwell on a little bit here, because it's very honest. And I asked him about the tension between AI, its sort of possibilities, and the fact that it also is kind of scary. And here are some of the things he had to say. There is both incredible potential and some scary disruption that will come from it. Speaking of AI, I think justified concern. And we all feel that. There is a concern. How is this disruption going to impact us as artists? He says, I'd say as a first order, it's here and it's definitely not going anywhere. And I think this is just the reality that we've come to terms with. Not everyone's excited about it, but everyone accepts that it's here and that we do need to understand it and engage with it. So my approach is to try and leverage it where it makes sense, and also keep an eye on what it means for my own career path and how I need to adapt. And I think in a nutshell, that is what we're setting out to do as a school, is to establish constantly, because it keeps moving, how does it affect the career path of our graduates, and how can we equip them to adapt to it. And this is also important. Judd makes the point that there's no universal mandate that says you have to use it. It's a tool like any other, and you can decide for yourself if you want to use it or not. But he does say you do need to have a good understanding of the trade-offs of that decision and be clear on the why. So whatever's motivating you to not engage with AI, if you choose not to, just understand that in terms of your employability, that may impact it. It might not, and it's up to you. But we feel it's our responsibility as a school to give you all the information so that you can make those choices in an informed way. In a nutshell, and this comes from a great concept artist I was speaking to the other day. He works in Canada. He said, follow your passion, but watch what's happening. And so in some ways, the threat of AI kind of sucks the life out of the thing we love. And we just mustn't let that happen. Let's follow our passion, but always just keep an eye on what's going on and how it might impact our potential career options. Now, I just want to end off with this little observation, which is a bit weird, I know, because now we're looking at pictures of old people, well, very old people. But just coming back to Konstantin Stanislavski, the reason he came up with his philosophies on acting, it was actually in response to this guy, Francois Delsart, who he kind of figured out this manual for actors. And basically what he says was, if you hit this pose, it means one thing. If you hit this pose, it means another thing. And it wasn't so important from his point of view that you necessarily felt anything when you hit the poses. And so you would kind of say, well, I'm not really feeling this, but if I was, it would look like this. And Konstantin Stanislavski was very upset by this. And he said, no, you have to feel it. And it's because you feel it that the audience is going to be moved and are going to resonate with that performance. And this is why they call him the father of method acting, because method actors go there and they really do feel it. And this applies to animation. This is the thing, the takeaway from my studies is that the soul that goes into the character we animate comes from the artist. We put it in. And you feel something when you are shooting your reference. And as you impart that performance to the character, you're imparting something of yourself. And that's what the audience receives. AI can't do this because it can't feel anything. And that's why we don't have to worry about it. We just have to figure out how we can use it to bring our message, our story, and what we're feeling in the performance we're trying to communicate to the screen with the technology. You know, when I first started out, I was in 2D only, and I was kind of forced to learn 3D. I was quite reluctant, but I couldn't get the job that I was offered if I didn't learn 3D. And I found 3D painful to work with. It was so hard to get the character into the pose that I could draw easily. But eventually, the tools became a bit more user-friendly, and it's still actually a mission, to be honest, but it is possible. So it became more and more possible. And we're at a similar place now with this technology. It's hard to control. Imagine you're just typing in the thing you want and then hoping for the best. It's kind of like a one-arm bandage. You put your money in and then pull the lever and, oh, no, that's not exactly what I want. Put in some more money, pull the lever. Oh, no, that's still not what I want. We can't work like that with this tool. But what we are going to be doing is engaging with it. And as it evolves and as it becomes more artist-friendly, figuring out how we can work with it. And then taking advantage of those efficiencies and the possibilities that it affords. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. I want everyone to know that this is an ongoing project, that it's a constant relationship between industry and the academic staff, and that it's going to be back and forth, and we're just going to keep exploring. But our objective is to be curious and excited about our craft and not let this thing spoil it for us, but take hold of it and make it work for us. So yeah, that's it from me. Over to you, Nina.
So if you were hiring somebody, would you be looking for someone that has got some confidence using AI tools?
If we were to hire an animation rigger or an animator or a compositor or anyone, I would like that they have tried AI and experienced how to use it, because as a business, you need to be efficient these days.
As a student, your primary task is to get an education. You need to know what it is, and you need to engage with it. And you need to engage with it on its own terms in the sense of, okay, so you say that you can do this, can you do this?
What AI does is it enables individuals to take their ideas a step further. Again, I think in the ideation process and early in the process to proof of concept something, see if it's working in an edit very quickly, and then dispatching it to a team who kind of creates the final image, that's going to be important.
If you're having a nice viewing experience and you're watching a beautiful short and you enjoyed it and maybe even cried at the end, and somebody tells you that was made in AI, you'd go, okay, well, I can get behind that, you know, because it made me feel something. And it made you feel something not because a robot did it, it's because there was a director or an artist, somebody on the other side, making a story for you.
I think we must remember that 90% of the audience doesn't really care how the film was made. We do, because we're in the game. But people watch a movie and they judge it, 90% of the market judges it on what it does to them, how they feel. Is it a good movie? What they do care about is being deceived. And I think, again, coming back to the rights and the IP, that's what we must keep our eye on.
The main reason is just to understand it, just to know what it can do, what it can't do, how much work it takes to push it to where you want it to go. And you know, if you are feeling threatened by it, the old adage, know your enemy, I think that's also valid. So whether you're pro AI or anti, I think you should use it and know what it can and can't do.
And if a young person who has all the skills that we need in a Maya studio also comes with AI skills on how to maximize their workflow to get the most out of each day, then I'm very interested in hearing what they have to say to see what they can teach us.
Let's be honest, many artists don't like AI, and that's understandable. Too often, what they've seen is people typing random prompts, generating hundreds of inconsistent images, and calling it creativity. No direction, no craftsmanship, no authorship, just hoping something good appears. That's not how great animation is made. At the animation school, we believe AI should never replace the artist. It should respond to the artist. That's why we teach structured, controllable production pipelines, not random prompting. We start with story, then design, then characters, then environments, then visual language, then shot planning. Every creative decision comes from the artist. AI simply becomes another production tool, guided with intention, consistency, and creative control. Just as a cinematographer directs a camera, or an animator directs a performance, the next generation of artists will learn to direct AI. The future isn't about giving creativity to machines. It's about giving artists more power to create. That's the future we're building at the Animation School, and we'd love you to help shape it.
I really hope you're enjoying the stream. And at the very least, the reason we are focusing on this today is allowing us to tell our story. And I know there's been a lot of people angry with us, but all we needed today was to explain our story and why it is that it's important that the animation school positions itself in the center of the industry. We are not using black boxed randomized AI generators. We are implementing a highly controlled workflow using node-based systems like Comfy UI. This specific approach technically places the student in total control, every single node and aspect of the pipeline. You aren't hoping for a good result. You are engineering it through your own artistic direction. The student's original human idea drives the vehicle. The tech is just the engine. We are actively encouraging their distinct personal creative voices to shine through, entirely uncompromised by the software. But let's hear how we are doing this in the curriculum. I give great pleasure to handing over to Kelly Walker, our academic director, and she is shaping this curriculum with our academic team with sensitivity in consultation with industry, and as always, the focus on the student journey. So let's have a look at Kelly's how we're going to do this.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly Walker and I'm the academic director at the animation school, and I get to chat to you today about what our curriculum is and what it looks like and what our ethos to it is and what you can really expect to learn at the animation school. But I'm conscious that today's conversation is a little bit different because of the announcement that we'll be integrating AI. And I'm very conscious that a lot of you probably have really strong feelings about that and lots of questions. So I want to speak to those questions directly, starting with the why and the how. So how are we integrating AI and why are we integrating AI? And the why is really quite simple. We've always been an incredibly vocational program. We're very practical. We're very aligned with industry. We have a very active industry advisory panel. And right now, there are incredibly conflicted opinions across the board within the creative sector and within industry around AI. There are those that are vehemently opposed to it. There are those that are advocating for legislation. There are those that are really excited about its exploration and its potential applications, and all manner of voices in between. But what came through for us as the majority feedback was that there's a belief that we have an obligation to create a research space and a space for exploration for students to really explore AI alongside traditional craft. So never at the cost of learning CG and learning traditional artistic skill sets and really being masterful in those areas of craft, which are the heart of our program and always have been and always will be. But alongside that, to explore this new technology and to really see what it can do for artistic practice, and if nothing else, to know your enemy and be well versed in its potential impact. So that's the why. Speaking to the how, I think what I'd like to start with is our AI charter. So we've really been considering this and agonizing over it and debating it and changing our minds frequently, which I think is sort of the universal experience of really engaging with AI at the moment. And anyone who tells you that they've got all the answers and there's no moral ambiguity and they have clarity, I would be skeptical of that. I think the honest answer is that it's really complex and really nuanced. And that's certainly been what we found. So we've begun by creating a charter and a pledge to really be a guiding force for us in terms of AI integration. And I'll talk you through that now. So the first guiding principle is craft before automation. And what I mean by that is we're not integrating AI in a way that replaces our existing curriculum. We're creating innovation and research spaces that allow us to add the exploration of AI. So CG skill sets and traditional skill sets will remain fundamental to our program. Everything we do at TAS begins and ends with craft, and we want students not just to have incredibly well-rounded creative skill sets and solid technical foundations, but also a passion and love for craft, just like we always have. All that's happening is an additional space for students to be able to explore new technology. So as well as positioning craft before automation, we also instill respect for creators. So we want to promote transparent AI use and copyright awareness, teach graduates how to protect their work when engaging with AI by knowing what questions to ask and what to look for, especially around data usage policies within generative AI. The next guideline is professional readiness. So we want to develop adaptable graduates who can engage with emerging technologies and really balance having an openness and curiosity to new technology, which is fundamental to success as a CG artist, with critically evaluating and asking and trying to answer hard questions around those softwares, specifically around how to responsibly adopt them. And then the last component is sustainable practice. I personally, I think my biggest concern with AI is the environmental impact. And so we want to teach graduates to look for efficient AI workflows, to use local offline tools wherever possible, and specifically to think when utilizing AI adds value and when it doesn't, and to be critical around that. So now that I've walked through the guiding principles for how we're integrating AI, let's look at what the curriculum actually looks like in practice. So it's based around 4 pillars, and the first of those pillars is visual story. So regardless of what happens in our industry, whether it be technological innovation or whether it be commercial disruption, IP is always central, and it always retains its value. And visual story has always been central to what we do at the animation school. Here, students learn cinematography, they learn staging and composition, they learn storyboarding, they learn video editing and how to compile boards into animatics. They learn the basics of story structure and how to develop a story, but also how to translate that story into a visual narrative. And this is going to be retained as one of the most important elements of our program, is creating that passion and love for story. Because also, beyond its value in terms of IP, story is the reason we all get into this in the first place. It's speaks to the creative's need to create something that has resonance and meaning and purpose and to connect with people. The next pillar is the creative skill sets. So this is everything from the fundamental artistic skills, so students learning drawing, sculpture, and utilizing physical cameras, and all of the things that they need to really hone their creative eye and their ability to create convincing worlds and tell compelling visual stories. And then we move into the CG skill sets, so everything from pre-production, so designing evocative characters and worlds, through to asset production, so that's making the physical digital models, texturing and surfacing them, through to rigging, so giving them the ability to move, through to animation and crafting performance, through to lighting and compositing, which is where they create mood and atmosphere and feeling. And those skill sets will remain fundamental to the program. What's being added is the third pillar, which is a research and innovation space to explore new technology and how that can be embedded into production and integrated into pipeline rather than replacing it. So there are several ways that we can do this that we're exploring. And the first is AI-assisted retopology and unwrapping tools, because that's a tedious and repetitive part of the pipeline that students can expedite and then spend more time focusing on modeling and texturing their assets or on sculpting and detailing assets. The second is AI-assisted toolsets. So when I say that, I don't mean tools that are going to animate performances for students. It's the complete contrary. We're exploring a tool that firstly is very ethical in that it only utilizes internally developed or licensed content for its training model, and that doesn't scrape data from its users. And what it's used for is not completing full performances, but assisting in the creation of performances. So students would shoot their own reference, they would create their own story poses and key poses, they would create breakdown poses to work out their timing and spacing and plot the large exaggerated movements between story poses. And then they would explore this tool to a system with the spline pass where they create the interpolated movement between breakdown poses, giving them more time then to polish their performances. Another thing that we're exploring is AI coding so that students can be empowered to learn how to script repetitive tasks that are part of their workflow, and to empower themselves to expedite those parts of the process to, again, spend more time on design or performance or look development. So we're looking at how we can embed AI within production and within pipeline, not to replace production or replace pipeline. That really is the fundamental pillar of what we're doing. And we're doing this with the intention of creating more employability for our graduates so that they continue to have the fundamental creative and CG skill sets that are required for work in the film, TV, and gaming sectors, but also that they have skill sets that are marketable in high output sectors like advertising that are aggressively exploring AI toolsets. And then the final pillar is really create a business for artists. So we want to empower our graduates to be able to create as many opportunities for themselves as possible and to be able to work across sectors. So to be able to work in the film industry, but also gaming and advertising and e-learning, and to learn how to price and position and market themselves across sectors, to have a focus on building a personal brand and on IP creation and commercialization alongside the creative skill sets that excite artists. And those are the things that we know, most artists aren't naturally imbued with, and that we want to really assist our graduates in learning and to empower them to have sustainable careers. And we'll be partnering with some pretty fabulous guest lecturers to help us achieve that. So very genuinely, everything that myself and the academic team at the animation school does is centered around supporting our graduates to have sustainable careers after they leave the animation school. And also in the name of tracking with and continuing to support the ongoing development and growth of the local animation industry. We've always had incredibly close ties to local studios, and we also want to ensure that our graduates have the skill sets that are going to benefit those studios as well. So I hope that that's something that's landed for you, that the focus of this curriculum is about preparing graduates to have sustainable careers, to be empowered to create opportunities for themselves, to be able to engage with curiosity and criticality with new technologies, and to have incredibly well-rounded and solid creative foundations that are the basis of everything that they do.
Every generation of artists has been told the same thing. This new technology will replace you. They said it about photography. They said it about computers. They said it about 3D animation. And yet, artists didn't disappear. They evolved. Today, we're witnessing the next transformation. Generative AI is reshaping animation pipelines around the world, and the artists of tomorrow need to understand these tools, not fear them. At the animation school, we're embracing this new technology while keeping one principle at the heart of everything we do. The artist always comes first. AI doesn't replace creativity. It expands what's possible. Because the future of animation won't belong to those who resist change. It will belong to the artists who learn to lead it. The animation school. The artist stays. The future starts here.
What if your dream of becoming a world-class animator didn't require moving to the city? For the first time ever, the animation school's internationally ranked 3-year diploma is now available 100% online. Same curriculum, same lecturers, same award-winning student films, delivered straight to your screen wherever you are. No more borders, no more limits. If you've got talent and Wi-Fi, you've got a seat in the class. Animation belongs to everyone. And now, so does Animation School. Apply online today.
Thank you, Kelly, for explaining in detail what we're planning to do. And yes, we don't have all the answers. And this is why we have to move quickly and really urgently so that we can best prepare our graduates for the future. For those watching who are still hesitant, I ask you to look at our history. For 26 years, we have successfully built one of the most respected animation schools in the world, entirely by championing human talent and nurturing brilliant artists. We did not spend 26 years building a legacy of artistic excellence just to hand it over to an algorithm. Trust that experience. Trust our dedication to our students. Every decision we're making today is fiercely protect the artist of tomorrow. I promise you this. When you look at the animation school's portfolio in years to come, every single piece of student work will be proudly, distinctly, and entirely human directed.
Let's be honest. Many artists don't like AI, and that's understandable. Too often, what they've seen is people typing random prompts, generating hundreds of inconsistent images, and calling it creativity. No direction, no craftsmanship, no authorship, just hoping something good appears. That's not how great animation is made. At the animation school, we believe AI should never replace the artist. It should respond to the artist. That's why we teach structured, controllable production pipelines, not random prompting. We start with story, then design, then characters, then environments, then visual language, then shot planning. Every creative decision comes from the artist. AI simply becomes another production tool, guided with intention, consistency, and creative control. Just as a cinematographer directs a camera, or an animator directs a performance, the next generation of artists will learn to direct AI. The future isn't about giving creativity to machines. It's about giving artists more power to create. That's the future we're building at the Animation School, and we'd love you to help shape it.
Learning to become an award-winning animator is as easy as applying at the Animation School. Apply online today.
The world is obsessed with AI, the algorithms, the instant generation. It's powerful, but let's be entirely clear, without the artist, it's just noise. Artificial intelligence doesn't have a unique voice. It doesn't have a unique style, and it definitely doesn't have your imagination. It relies entirely on the spark that only the artist can provide. Artist input, artist lived experience, the artist's vision. At the Animation School, we aren't running from the future. We're building it.
Every generation of artists has been told the same thing. This new technology will replace you. They said it about photography. They said it about computers. They said it about 3D animation. And yet, artists didn't disappear. They evolved. Today, we're witnessing the next transformation. Generative AI is reshaping animation pipelines around the world, and the artists of tomorrow need to understand these tools, not fear them. At the Animation School, we're embracing this new technology while keeping one principle at the heart of everything we do. The artist always comes first. AI doesn't replace creativity, it expands what's possible. Because the future of animation won't belong to those who resist change, it will belong to the artists who learn to lead it. The Animation School. The artist stays, the future starts here.